The prologue starts with our protagonist, Jiang Bai, running from a casino after winning a huge amount of money. But life has other plans for him, and he soon gets struck by a truck. But he doesn't die and instead wakes up in a different world with memories he has no recollection of. Just then, a voice calls out, and he is surprised to see his old self talking to him. Jiang Bai was in a high-risk casino in Macau and had just won millions, but the boss doesn't understand the meaning of fair play and demands he gives the money to him. But Jiang loves his money more than anything and will not part from it easily. He effortlessly takes down the boss and his men, but when the boss calls for backup, Jiang thinks it is better to run and dashes out of the casino, only to be struck by a speeding truck. The boss pukes as he sees Jiang's body lying in the pool of blood, and soon panic ensues, but Jiang is calm as ever. Even as he realizes he's dead, he suddenly wakes up covered in sweat. He is in his room, on his bed, but he is confused and wonders how he is alive. Jiang steps down from his bed, but he whimpers in pain as his head aches with clusters of memories, but he can't quite identify them. Suddenly his hand moves on its own and slaps him before a voice addresses him as Earth Boy and congrats him on making it to reincarnation. The voice continues and tells him he is an aquamarine, a parallel world of Earth. The voice, who calls himself God, presents Jiang with a Metropolitan System that uses prestige points to get whatever one desires. And how would one get prestige points? Asks Jiang, but the self-proclaimed God has a party to attend. So he leaves Jiang hanging and says he should figure it out himself. Just then, Jiang's bullies call him out and offer him protection if he successfully does a task for them. But the timid Jiang is gone. This reincarnated Jiang doesn't have the patience, and as soon as he sees them, he lands a heavy punch on the gang leader's face, throwing him in the air. Jiang doesn't stop at one punch and keeps punching the leader and hurling abuses till the leader's face swells like a potato. His men try to stop Jiang, but seeing how furious he looks, they decide it is better not to butt in. Once Jiang is tired of punching, he asks them to run and go to whoever their boss is, and mistaking them for the underworld, he throws a challenge for their boss. As soon as the bullies hear underworld, the blood drains from their faces and they run for their lives, thinking Jiang is from the underworld. Just then, a message congratulates him on his first victory, which has rendered him 5 prestige points. Along with that, has got a free draw from the system, and out of thin air, a slot machine pops up promising various rewards for him. This is the type of opportunity he was looking for to get rich, and now that he has one, he can get away with studying advanced mathematics and gambling techniques. He pulls the lever and hopes to earn money, prestige, and power. Jiang keeps chanting mantras to get rich overnight, but when the machine shows different colors, Jiang is sure the machine is rigged. He kicks and rattles the machine till it shows a random award that grants him an autobiographic memory. He starts celebrating till he realizes what it means, and suddenly, he clasps his head as he experiences a headache. And all the memories from his childhood flash back before his eyes, and he starts crying as he remembers his mom, whom he dearly misses. He wipes off his tears and is filled with a new resolve to treat his new life better and live up to those who love him. He flicks through his memories, finds the bullies from earlier, and decides to stop their bullying. So he leaves his house and rents out another place that feels like a mansion compared to his last home. Jiang is very excited about his new place, as it is definitely an upgrade. He starts searching more about this version of himself and realizes he is still single and living a pitiful life. With his body, he can't do any underworld work, and as he's wondering what he can do, he finds an anomaly in the aquamarine world. The events that have happened on Earth do not exist in this world, which gives him an advantage, so he seizes the opportunity and decides to write a woodshed novel. And as soon as he publishes its first 3 chapters, it becomes an instant hit. It is already morning, and Jiang has finished writing 30 more chapters, but decides to upload them later as he is sleep-deprived. He doesn't realize he has created a sensation until he receives an email with an offer. He feels great after plagiarizing work from Earth and gaining glory, for which he also earns prestige points. He figures the more people read his work, the more prestige points he will earn, but first, he plans to redeem his prestige points, for which the system gives him a list to choose from. Jiang exchanges 1 prestige point for $1,000 before deciding if he wants a quantum computer or an adult doll that runs on electricity. He quickly shakes away the terrifying thought of using something that needs to be plugged in and asks the system how much the Sanda martial arts would cost him. The system tells him that the advanced course will cost him 500 prestige points, which is too high. He knows he needs to increase his pace to face the bullies, and as he thinks, he gets reminded of his autobiographic memory and wonders how much it would cost him. The system tells him it cost 100,000 points, surprising him. He decides not to waste such a costly ability, and 1 month later, he has finished writing 200 words. He finally decides to take a break and eat something other than noodles. Just then, he gets a call from his manager, whom he calls Fatty, and invites him out on a feast. The system also congratulates Jiang for the fame and fortune he has earned, and his prestige has risen to 1,000 points, earning him a free draw. He lands with a purple reward that is a master skill, and as he's expecting to become invincible, he gets an eerie sensation and feels something crawling into his brain. Jiang soon realizes he has been rewarded with Bajikwan, a Chinese martial art form with explosive moves. He is happy with his newfound power after he puts it to the test, but it will still take time for him to get used to the bouts of headache he has to face every time he's rewarded something. He names his ability Emperor Fist. Suddenly his stomach growls, and he realizes he's late for his rendezvous with Fatty. He decides to meet him some other time and heads out to have food. As he walks towards the elevator, a gorgeous woman struts in front of him and tries to ask him if he has seen any suspicious people there. But Jiang couldn't care less and asks her to move as she's blocking his way. The woman looks dumbfounded because this is probably the first time someone has ignored her like that. So she runs to the elevator and presses her body against his, and in a seductive manner introduces herself as Yo Wei. She asks if he's new there, but Jiang tries to get his way out of there as he knows beautiful women like her always tend to bring trouble, and just as she takes his hand, forcing him to come along with her, Jiang hears someone roaring Yo's name and asking about him, and that's when Jiang knew he is in trouble. To Jiang's horror, Yo replies that he is her boyfriend. She adds that she never loved him, and he should leave them alone. The guy looks mortified and says he'll never give up on her before he turns to leave. Jiang is pleased he didn't have to do anything, but Ya seems tense about something. Jiang is nonchalant, as right now, all he can think of is food, so he excuses himself and eats to his heart's content. Suddenly his phone rings and Brother Lee from the other side screams his lungs out into Jiang's ears. He asks Jiang where he is because when he went to Jiang's place, his place had been turned topsy-turvy, and he also heard some dangerous people were looking for him. Jiang pays for the food and heads back, and on the way he meets Lee, who tells him that Song Yi's men and more than 20 thugs are waiting for him. He advises Jiang not to go back. Jiang realizes Song Yi must be the bully's brother-in-law, the king of underground boxing, and suddenly he feels an adrenaline rush in his body. He goes back to his house and grandiosely announces his entrance to the thugs waiting for him. Song Yi catches Jiang's eyes, and Jiang calls him an old man before asking what he can do for him. The apartment manager interferes and chides Jiang for talking to the young master in such a condescending tone. But Jiang is far from backing off. In fact, he pours himself a glass of wine and makes fun of the bully who ratted him out after he got beaten up by Jiang. Song Yi likes Jiang's confidence and challenges him to defeat 23 of his thugs, and then he might let Jiang go. Jiang adds fuel and invites him to be the 24th. But Song Yi isn't so naive as to get affected by a kid's words, and suddenly the thugs attack Jiang. One by one, Jiang takes down all 23 of them and is ready to face Song Yi. Even though Song Yi appears calm, he is surprised to find that Jiang is a Bajikwan practitioner. However, he is confident in his Sinbi Quan and takes Jiang by surprise when he first attacks him. The sheer speed of his fist creates a vacuum, but it is not enough to subdue Jiang, and he attacks Song Yi, bringing him to his knees. Song Yi is baffled when he realizes Jiang is no Bajikwan user but a master. Soon an epic battle between the two martial art experts, and such is their speed that they leave shadows of their movements, which makes an ordinary viewer think they are many in numbers. Song Yi soon starts getting beaten up, and Jiang lands a final blow on him, making Song Yi accept his defeat. And as per the promise, Song Yi is ready to call Jiang Big Brother, even though Song Yi is much older than Jiang. Seeing Song Yi's humbleness, Jiang confesses he is not part of the underworld, and to his surprise, Song Yi also admits he has never committed any petty offenses, let alone being a leader of thugs. But due to circumstances, he has intimidated people sometimes. Jiang looks dumbfounded at the revelation, because if this keeps up, these people won't be of any use to him. So he acts tough and says he's short of money, but Song Yi puts his arm around Jiang and says he can help him get money. Song Yi tells Jiang they have ways to make money, and as long as he's willing to help, he'll be appropriately rewarded. Jiang makes it clear that he won't do anything he doesn't wish to, and Song Yi assures him it is not like what he's thinking. Song Yi asks the manager to call the boss a old horse. He then turns to Jiang and tells him the tale of the boss. The boss had a playboy son who was in a relationship with a girl, but when he fell out of love and broke up with her, she told her uncles about what had happened. The uncles took it upon themselves to massacre the boss's men in the underworld. They'd also threatened to destroy him and his family unless someone could defeat the second uncle, known as Tan Zongming. Above Tan Zongming is his master Nalan, a mysterious man from a hidden sect. Song Yi warns Jiang not to hurt Tan Zongming as it would provoke Master Nalan, and they don't want that, as even Song Yi's master is unwilling to fight Master Nalan. Just then, the boss hurriedly makes his way in and questions Song Yi if his master has agreed to intervene. But Song Yi introduces him to Jiang as the 8 Trigram Master and vouches for his abilities. The boss was expecting an older man, but when he sees a young man standing before him, it is difficult for him to accept that. But Song Yi assures the boss and even tells him that Jiang defeated him a few moments ago. The boss is convinced and says if Jiang wins, he is ready to forego a quarter of his property, including the bar and Dragon Mansion, which is 10 million in assets. Jiang takes up the task and warns the boss that his son should take up responsibility for his actions. But for some reason, Song Yi takes him away so the boss can't hear Jiang's upright words. Nevertheless, Jiang is ready to face Tan Zong and his master. The three men visit Tan, and the boss once again tries to negotiate and promises to let his son marry his niece if he puts an end to the rivalry between the two groups. But Tan doesn't budge and mocks Song Yi for bringing a young man to fight him. Jiang takes it upon his ego and rudely challenges Tan, but he's in for a surprise when Tan lands a kick on Jiang at lightning speed. Jiang quickly recognizes the spring leg technique and matches it to his speed. Not only that, but Jiang also manages to change the flow of Tan's rhythm, astonishing Tan. After many fists and kicks, Tan loses concentration for a second, giving Jiang a window to blow the last punch at Tan. Tan coughs up blood as he recovers from that blow to his face. Suddenly, his men pull out their guns, and one of them is about to shoot Jiang when Tan subdues him and yells at him for tarnishing his image in front of a worthy opponent. Tan apologizes for that behavior and requests him to forgive the audacity of his men. The boss says he's just there to solve the problem, and Tan agrees and gives written consent to not cause any problems in the future for the boss. He also recognizes Jiang as a friend. They soon leave, and the boss takes them out to celebrate their victory over some drinks. At that moment, the system notifies Jiang that he has earned impressive points for defeating Tan and 1500 bonus prestige for the difficulty of the event. The system further alerts him of friendship points, which are awarded on the basis of the fame of the person, and because of his friendship with Song Yi, he will be provided with 23 prestige points daily. The next day, the boss transfers the promised property in Jiang's name and also gives him a car. Jiang gets a call from his manager Fatty about the publisher, but Jiang entrusts the task to him, and once he's done, the boss and Song Yi can't help but ask him if he's the famous author of the book that is already a hot deal in the market. Jiang humbly says he is the author, but he doesn't have the inspiration to write, so he shares his desire to do something else. Just as he says, the boss presents him with an offer to work in the movie industry. The boss tells Jiang how the box office is booming in China, and if Jiang's got a good script, he's guaranteed to get rich overnight. The boss then offers to give Song Yi and Jiang his established film company. Jiang thinks for a while and realizes that he can bring the Earth movies as they have not been made here in Aquamarine, and without wasting any time, accepts the offer. The boss asks for 2 million from Jiang as a processing fee, and he promises to sell the company to him legally. Jiang agrees and asks for 10 days to transfer the money. The boss invites him to see the studio, but a beautiful young woman recognizes Jiang and calls out to him when they reach there. Jiang asks the system to help him remember who the woman is. The system tells Jiang the woman's name is Lin, his cousin from a far-reaching family branch. The system also adds that he had alienated her after graduating from high school. Jiang asks her what she's doing there. Lin says she had gone to his house after learning that he had quit his job and joined a gang of shady people, so she went to his house, but the house was a mess, and he was nowhere to be found. She starts belittling the boss and Song Yi on their faces and asks Jiang if they are threatening him. But Jiang turns to Song Yi and is ready to leave with them when Lin stops him and offers her pocket money, thinking he might be in the gang due to lack of money. She also invites him to her school so she can get him a job as a librarian to keep him away from trouble, as she is worried about him. Her selfless act touches Jiang, and he holds her hand to give her the money back. He assures her he has enough deposits to keep him well-fed and live comfortably. Lin is flustered as she pulls away her hand and asks him to meet her at school the next morning before leaving. Jiang's face suddenly lights up as he plans something and decides to go to school the following day. Song Yi drives Jiang to the school, but Jiang asks him to stop some 600 meters away from the building as he wants to keep a low profile. He also advises Song Yi to change his hairstyle so he looks cool and not as rogue as he usually appears. As he approaches the gate, Lin meets him at the entrance and offers him her breakfast, saying she is not hungry. Jiang can't help but notice how humble she is. All the women's staff is excited to see a handsome librarian and chit-chat among themselves about approaching Jiang. By lunchtime, Jiang has read many books as he feels he should soak up as much free information as he can, and Lin is surprised to see he's already read many books. She came by to give him a lunchbox she picked for him. Jiang asks her if she deliberately bought the lunch for him, and Lin, lost in her thoughts, says yes before realizing what she just said, and she runs out embarrassed, yelling that it was not intentional. As Jiang starts eating, he hears his name, and a male colleague shows his astonishment at Lin bringing Jiang food. Jiang asks the man if there is an issue. The man's name is Wang, and he warns Jiang that Lin is one of the 4 major beauties of the school. One of the influential faculty members has already approached her, and as he starts enumerating his connections, Jiang stuffs his mouth with food and asks him to shut up. He clears that Lin is his cousin and nothing more than that. After a long day, he finally returns home to find Wu Chen and his men at Jiang's doorstep. Contrary to Jiang's suspicion that they might have come to pick a fight with him, Wu Tian offers Jiang 500 to break up with Yao Wei. Without much deliberation, Jiang agrees, much to Wu Tian's surprise, who would say no to free money, and only Jiang knows he is not actually in a relationship with Yao Wei. He grabs the suitcase full of money and happily marches home, but when someone grabs his shoulder from behind, he starts yelling but stops when he sees it is Yao Wei. She is sweating and looks apologetic for causing him trouble with Wu Tian. But Jiang cannot focus on anything as he finally notices how sultry she can look. Jiang quickly reminds himself that he's much older to be fawning over a young girl and regains his composure. Yao Wei wants to know how Jiang got past Wu Tian. Jiang confesses Wu Tian bribed him with 500 to leave her alone. Yao Wei shouts at him and questions his integrity, but when Jiang blames her for getting him into such a situation, Yao Wei's demeanor changes. She says since he used her status to gain the money, it should be divided between them and asks for 400k. Jiang outrightly refuses and claims it to be his. But Yao Wei isn't going to give up so easily and threatens to tell Wu Tian that Jiang slept with her and told her about the money. Jiang curses her as he doesn't want any trouble, and after much negotiation, they agree on a 55-45 ratio division. Once done, Yao Wei can't stop laughing. You have met such an interesting, greedy character. The next day at school, Song Yi comes to meet Jiang. He has changed his hairstyle per Jiang's recommendation, and he looks good. He even blushes when Jiang compliments him and changes the topic by asking him when he'll come back to the underworld as people have started talking about him. He also asks for a new name of the production company, and Jiang recommends Dragon Film. When Song Yi starts questioning Jiang's purpose for staying in the library for so long, Jiang thinks it is time for Song Yi to leave, but they get interrupted by Jiang's cell phone. Jiang picks up the call, and it is from Lin's roommate, who informs him that Lin has been taken by Zhang, the school scum who is after Lin. She warns Zhang that Zhang is bad news as he has done terrible things outside the school and has a terrible reputation. Jiang grabs his jacket, and as he leaves the school, he asks for an address. The roommate tells him Jiang has taken Lin to the Marriott Wine Hotel. At the hotel, Jiang is forcing Lin to have lunch with him when Jiang barges in, breaking the door open. Jiang gets furious and orders his men to take care of Jiang and Song Yi. And these two men soon get surrounded by men with guns and various other dangerous weapons. Jiang provokes Jiang by referring to Lin as a piece of meat that he wishes to devour, enraging Lin. She calls him shameless, but Jiang couldn't care less and blames her for igniting such feelings in him for looking so beautiful. Jiang then signals his men to point their guns at Jiang and threatens to eliminate him if Lin doesn't listen to him and resists his advances. Seeing her cousin's life in danger, Lin asks him to stop and agrees to sleep with him. Jiang crosses the line when he asks Lin to undress in front of everybody. Lin has no choice, and with tears rolling down her cheek, she slowly starts removing her clothes amidst Jiang hurling profanities. He gets distracted by Jiang's voice, who asks Lin to close her eyes and not open them no matter what, as something terrible is about to happen. Jiang holds a menacing look and attacks one of the men holding a gun, and Song Yi grabs it before anybody can do anything. He then takes down another man and warns that if anybody moves, he will put a hole in his head. Jiang gets perturbed and warns his men to eliminate the two men, or they'll have offended his dad, the gang leader. The men seem a bit hesitant since Song Yi has a gun, so Jiang orders them to attack the men from both sides. As they do, Song Yi fires at them, ending the lives of the men who attacked him and injuring the rest. Now, with only Jiang left, Jiang walks toward him to take care of him. He kicks and punches Jiang, leaving him bleeding from various places. He then grabs Jiang's hand and squeezes his fingers till they all break, and he squirms in pain. Jiang warns him that even his dad won't be able to help him. Jiang asks Song Yi to take Jiang away while he takes off his jacket and covers Lin with it. Song Yi kicks Jiang and brutally escorts him away. Jiang doesn't let Lin open her eyes and helps her find her way out so she doesn't see the bloody mess. On their way out, he tells one of the injured men to relay the message to Jiang's dad that he will be sending back his disabled son. Once outside, Song Yi can't contain his excitement and tells Jiang that he has tied Jiang in the warehouse for his dad to find. Lin is worried for Jiang as Jiang's father sounds dangerous and proposes they go back to their hometown to hide till everything settles down. But Jiang is not done with them and says he's going to destroy them for what Jiang did. Song Yi suddenly gets serious and, in a somber tone, asks Jiang to be careful because the last known Trigram master died after getting shot by unknown assailants. But Jiang assures them he has his ways and asks Song Yi to send Lin somewhere safe as he needs some time to prepare. Once they're gone, Jiang lights a cheap cigarette and admits to himself how nervous he is because he doesn't have a plan. The man in question is too powerful and has some 300 professional snipers and ex-military personnel working under him. He realizes he doesn't stand a chance if there is a direct confrontation. As if deciding something, he calls the system to give him a draw. He plans to win something big as his life depends on it, but when he looks at the screen, his cigarette falls on the ground, and he holds a bewildered expression as he wonders if his life is over. After getting the scare of his life, the system presents him with a second draw, and explains that with the amount of prestige points Jiang owns, he can make a preliminary draw twice. Grateful for a second chance, Jiang is sure not to waste it. Meanwhile, an unknown man is talking to his grandfather, Zhang Changjiang, about a meeting with a party at the Hexang waste factory, and they are asked to bring as many men as they can. Changjiang looks confident as he has invited several national masters. Somewhere another man kneels down before Zhao Yi and tells him that Changjiang has gathered more than 200 men. Zhao Yi calls the man kneeling Wang and warns him that things are not what they seem superficially, because Master Nalin's decision to leave Jiang alone indicates something big. He calls Changjiang a fool because Changjiang has also summoned him to help him fight, but he knows well that if he does, it will negatively impact Zhao's business. He asks Wang to relay to Changjiang that Song Yi is involved with Jiang, as he knows Song Yi's master, and that man owes Zhao a favor. Zhao is looking forward to seeing how Jiang fares in this test, and if he succeeds, he might get involved. In the mountains, Song Yi's master is planning to head down to the city after spending much time in the mountains training. He is concerned about his disciple and wonders if Song Yi knows what he has got himself into. At the Hexang waste factory, Jiang lies crying and whimpering in pain while Jiang, Song Yi, and their men wait. Finally, Changjiang arrives, and Jiang cries for his dad to save him. Changjiang is horrified to see his son crippled. From behind, an older man walks out of the shadow, and he seems to know Song Yi's master. He asks Song Yi to go back to him. Song Yi recognizes the man whose name is Zhao Shilong. He has been fighting with Song Yi's master for almost a lifetime. In a fraction of a second, he reaches beside Song Yi and lands a hard kick on him. He then holds his head and makes him bow, supposedly to teach him how to respect elders, and then punches him, knocking him out. Jiang steps in to fight Zhao, but Zhao is extremely fast on his feet. In no time, Jiang catches up to Zhao, and they both start fighting at such great speed that it is difficult to keep track of their movements with naked eyes. Song Yi soon gains consciousness, and he gets up to light a cigarette and flips Zhao as he knows very well Zhao is no match for Jiang, and as he predicted, Jiang lands a death blow on Zhao, knocking him out of his senses. Song Yi challenges Changjiang to send whoever he has got with him, but Changjiang has different plans, and after cursing them, he orders his men to shoot them. Jiang and Song Yi find themselves surrounded by armed men. Chang Jiang orders Jiang to let Zhang go, but Jiang doesn't show any mercy and orders his men to cut Jiang, and a man stabs Jiang's hand, making him wail in pain. Chang Jiang shivers in anger and asks Jiang if he has a death wish, but Jiang corrects him and says he knew Chang Jiang wouldn't let him go, so he was prepared to die from the start, and even now he can sense the sniper is waiting for Chang's orders. With his anger off the charts, Chang orders the sniper to shoot Jiang, and as the sniper does, Jiang pulls out a God of War card and activates it. Before the bullet can hit Jiang, he vanishes, and the bullet hits the ground. The sniper looks for him, but unbeknownst to him, Jiang stands behind him. While everybody looks for Jiang in the building, Jiang throws the sniper from the glass roof into the building. Chang is baffled to see Jiang on the roof. He is enjoying his newfound powers and uses them to land on Jiang. As the people try to understand what just happened, Chang whimpers, covering his face and asking his men to shoot Jiang before he gets him. Suddenly, the bullets seem to be raining on Jiang, but they do not affect him, as he uses his bare hands to disable and catch all the bullets. Chang's men soon realize Jiang is no ordinary person, as what he's doing is not possible for humans to do it. Chang calls Jiang an alien, and Jiang outrightly rejects that role and calls it lame. He then takes his serious stance and says he'll give them 3 days to compensate and provide him with a satisfactory solution, or else he'll wipe out the existence of Chang's family from the face of the earth. Many men start cheering Jiang's name and promise their utmost loyalty to him. Amid the cheering, Jiang thinks of what happened a few hours ago that changed the whole trajectory. He drew a random reward that granted him the God of War card, which makes the user of that card invincible for 30 seconds, with no after effects, exactly what Jiang needed at that point in time. Wang calls Song Yi to get an update on the chaos that ensued, and as soon as he gets the information, he runs to Zhao Yi to tell him that the rumor is true about Jiang, and the proof of it is that he took down 200 professionally trained men single-handedly. Zhao believes another dragon is born and wishes to meet Jiang in person. He volunteers as the middleman to smooth things out between Jiang and Chang Jiang. Meanwhile, at his home, Jiang falls on his bed exhausted. The system congratulates him on his involvement in the world and rewards him with 2,000 points. Jiang cries tears of joy when he realizes he's finally rich, but the system takes a blow at his gut when it tells him since he used the God of War card, his reward was halved. Irritated by the system duping him, he thinks of his prestige points and realizes it is almost time for his intermediate draw, but first he needs some sleep. It is the following day, and after sleeping like a log, Jiang feels refreshed. He's on his way to the library when he is stopped by Liu Runan from the Criminal Investigating Unit. She asks him to come with her to help them investigate an incident that happened the day before. Jiang confidently mentions that he was sleeping the entire day, but Liu loses her composure with him and tells him that a dozen people died because of him and he'll be charged with murder. Liu's partner warns him not to provoke Jiang. He's scared Jiang might hurt them, as the rumor has it that Jiang defeated 200 men all by himself. Jiang questions Liu if they have evidence against him, indicating he eliminated those men, and even if they do, how are they going to catch him? He then steps close to Officer Liu and makes her heart skip a beat before he turns and leaves. He also teases her by giving her a backhanded compliment. Liu quickly gains her composure and puts him under arrest, but before they can get him, Jiang vanishes, leaving them astonished. Liu's partner reminds him that a tyrant like Chang Jiang also dares not to press charges against Jiang. They should return to the precinct. Liu is determined to put Jiang behind the bar and takes a pledge to collect all the evidence for it to happen. Meanwhile, Jiang escapes in a car that Song Yi bought right on time. He pulls Jiang's leg by asking if Liu is his girlfriend, but Jiang wouldn't date a hot-tempered woman. Song Yi then tells Jiang that Zhao wants to have a meal together with Jiang and Chang Jiang. Jiang notices Song Yi addressed Zhao very respectfully and asks who he is. Song Yi tells Jiang that Zhao is the hidden dragon, the real owner of Tiandu City and the true underworld lord. He controls everything that happens in the city. Jiang is excited to meet the dragon. In the evening, they reach the stipulated place and Wang greets Jiang. He shows Jiang the way to where Zhao is waiting for him. Jiang cannot shake off the uneasiness he feels as he makes his way in. Song Yi is surprised that Zhao sent Wang to greet them and presumes Zhao must be very impressed by Jiang, which is why he is giving them special treatment. As they enter the hall, Jiang is surprised to see many elite members along with Zhao. Zhao welcomes Jiang and, with much effort, gets up to shake hands with him. Zhao then introduces Chai Shengfo. Song Yi's master is one of the only 3 national masters in China. Jiang greets Master Che and acknowledges him for making an appearance after a decade of living a quiet life in the mountains. Master Che offers Jiang to join him in cultivating in peace, humbling Jiang, who calls himself a junior. Master Che goes as far as acknowledging Jiang as his younger brother. Suddenly, Song Yi intervenes and asks Master Che to take that back, and soon a verbal spat occurs between Master Che and Song Yi. Master Che asks Song Yi to call Jiang uncle while he calls Jiang young brother. He even calls Song Yi his smelly disciple. Song Yi is surprised because Master Che expelled him for accidentally eliminating somebody, and suddenly, his entire journey flashes in front of his eyes. He remembers how little he was when Master Che took him in and how he got himself expelled. And now that his master has recognized him again, Song Yi can't hold back his tears. It is a happy reunion of a master and apprentice, and to commemorate the occasion, Zhou congratulates them and invites them to the dinner table. Jiang gobbles down the delicious food, and Zhou brings up the topic of his altercation with Chang Zhang recently. Zhou tells him that he has been in partnership with Chang Zhang for many years now. Taking the hint, Jiang asks how he wants to resolve the issue between them. Chang Zhang apologizes and offers an envelope that contains details of roughly $300 million worth of assets that Chang Zhang offers to transfer to Jiang as compensation for what his son did. Jiang accepts the compensation and is relieved that the matter is settled. A week later, Jiang is on his way to the bank along with Song Yi. Jiang transfers $200 to his parents' account and calls them to let them know of the transaction. His parents fear he stole the money, but Jiang assures them he earned it as a bonus for helping the police solve some issues. With that, Jiang earns 1,000 prestige points, making it a total of 10,000 prestige points. He qualifies for an intermediate draw that is only possible if one has accumulated 10,000 prestige points. Jiang asks Song Yi to wait and excuses himself with the pretext of attending to some business. He then goes to an isolated area where the slot machine appears, and he pulls the lever, anxiously waiting for a good reward. Jiang lands up with a super recovery ability. Though he can't regenerate limbs, it has a strong recovering ability for deep wounds. To test it out, Jiang takes a knife and slashes his wrist, but to his amazement, it starts healing on its own. The system tells him he can upgrade for 100 prestige points. He can't wait to have a perfect version of the ability. He tells Song Yi that he'll be coming to the studio the next day. He needs 100 points, and he knows he can earn those points by making movies. The next day when he goes to the studio, the boss introduces him to Yao, as she is the company's president. They get awkward and fist bump a little too hard with the intention of hurting each other. Boss leaves to attend a meeting and instructs Yao to show Jiang the office. Once alone, Yao tries to seduce Jiang, but Jiang is not taking any of it this time. She wants to know his secret because the last time they met, he said he was unemployed, but now he suddenly became her boss. But Jiang pushes her aside and asks her to focus on the business. Yao isn't sure how they will be able to pull it off because it is a little too ambitious. They don't have a script, and no well-known directors are ready to shoot the film. Jiang places the script he has written on the table and asks Yao to see if they can work with it. Yao thinks Jiang is an amateur, but when she reads the front page, she stutters as she looks astonished. After reading it through, Yao finally says the script is amazing and asks who the writer is. Jiang couldn't be happier as it is his favorite movie from Earth. When Jiang tells Yao that he is the writer, Yao doesn't believe him. She plans to use Jiang to her advantage and tells him that her ex-boyfriend Wu Tian might start interfering with her preparations, as he is quite powerful in the film industry. Jiang asks her to leave Wu Tian to him as he'll care for him. Yao couldn't be happier and plants a kiss on Jiang's cheek before leaving. Jiang and Yao have come to the Marriott Hotel for some event when they spot director Jin there, annoyed after a busy day. Yao goes to say hello and introduces her new boss Jiang to the director. Director Jin is surprised to see such a young chairman and graciously takes his hand. Just as they are about to go inside, Wang comes looking for Jiang and sees him talking to Director Jin. He tells Director Jin that Jiang is a friend of Zhao and asks him to cooperate in anything Jiang wants. Director Jin is glad he was courteous to Jiang and gladly accepts to help Jiang with anything he needs. Yao is surprised Director Jin is showing such deference to Jiang, which interests Wang too, as he gets curious about their relationship. Director Jin asks Jiang if Wu Tian has been bothering him in any way because he can teach the lad a lesson, but Jiang knows Wu Tian is in for the shock of his life and wants things to unfold on their own, so he dismisses the claims as a misunderstanding. Meanwhile, Wu Tian is getting irritated waiting inside the hotel for Director Jin as it has been quite some time. However, as soon as director Jin enters, Wu Tian gets up from his seat, welcoming him, but stops midway as blood runs down his face when he spots Jiang with the director. Jiang was waiting to see his reaction, and as he expected, Wu Tian went into full-on jittery mode. This time, director Jin asks Wu Tian directly if he had a fight with Jiang, and Wu Tian couldn't say anything except that it was a misunderstanding. Still, Jiang is not done with his pettiness, and adds that Wu Tian is particularly interested in his friend Yao, and nonchalantly claims that he is not suited to her. Now visibly shaking, Wu Tian curses Jiang in his mind when Wang warns him that going against Jiang is equivalent to challenging his brother Zhao as they are friends. Wu Tian is shocked beyond comprehension to learn Jiang and Zhao are friends. He immediately gets down on his knees, and with every sorry, Wang slaps him. Just then, Wu Jiang enters and intervenes, which creates tension between him and director Jin. To add fuel to the fire, Wang taunts Wu Tian for breaking the rules of the underground and acting like a thug. Wu Jiang is surprised and asks Wang if his brother, Wu Tian, offended him. But Wang asserts that the kid didn't offend him, but his brother, Jiang. Jiang enjoys being advocated for, as he can now eat his meal peacefully. Wu Jiang tries to placate the situation and offers compensation for Wu Tian's doing. But when Wang mentions the incident about Jiang and his 200 men being beaten up single-handedly by a monster of a person, and says that the legend is Jiang, Wu Jiang picks a champagne bottle and smashes on Wu Tian's head and chides him for messing with a person who can eliminate him in a snap. Ironically, he starts beating his brother, Black and Blue, but Jiang asks him to stop. Wang asks sternly if this will happen again, and Wu Tian takes his brother's responsibility and says if he ever shows his face to Yao, they'll cut him into pieces and feed him to the dogs. Wu Tian then drags his barely conscious brother to clean him up and takes his leave. Jiang is impressed by Wang's method of dealing with issues without any dire consequences, and pours him a drink to appreciate how well he handled the situation. The men drink to their content, and by the end of the evening, director Jin is very intoxicated and makes a faux pas at Wang, who appears to be extremely attractive to him in his state. After the two leave, Yu cannot subdue her curiosity and asks Jiang who he really is. Jiang replies he's not that big of a deal, but a diabolical person. Jiang asks Yo for an update on how fast the work on the film he's making can start. Yo is almost done with hiring actors, and they can start shooting by next week, but they are facing funding issues. They require $30 million, and the company's financial condition is not assuring at the moment. Jiang suddenly takes a cool stance and declares that he can easily supply $25 million. Just as Yu hears about money, her inner seductress awakens, and she throws her arms around Jiang and proposes if he wants to support her financially. She is ready to become his mistress. She puts his finger in her mouth and explains everything she is willing to do for him. But Jiang pulls out his finger, refraining from going any further. He questions her about her intentions, unwilling to give in to her shenanigans. Yao is persistent, and while imagining intimate moments with Jiang, she blushes and says he can't do such things to her in the company. She finally changes her expression into a sultry one and asks how he likes the offer. That look is enough to make him hard, no matter how much he tries to calm himself down. He is irritated that his body is not listening to his mind, and after a brief quiet moment, he asks Yo to stop with the nonsense and heads home. Seeing her chance slip away, she tries one more time, but when Jiang doesn't budge, she calls after him to at least give her a ride home. The next day at school, Lin meets Jiang in the staff room to return his coat. She also brings him the lunch she has prepared for him, and seeing him enjoy her cooking, she is happy and surprised how Jiang has suddenly changed into someone so reliable. Jiang finds her staring at him and asks if she wants something from him. Lin struggles to find words and then says there is a birthday party and everybody is bringing their partners. She was wondering if Jiang would be interested in going with her, but then she struggles to explain that she didn't mean as a couple and gets flustered. Jiang doesn't think much of it and agrees to go with her. Later he meets Lin and her friends, who start interrogating him about his relationship with Lin. Lin tries to stop her friend from saying such things. Just then, the birthday girl Liu Lai arrives and apologizes for being late. Once all the friends arrive, Liu announces they will be going to Marriott and that everything is arranged by her boyfriend. The girls can't believe their luck and squeal in joy upon arrival. Jiang stays quiet and doesn't say much when the friends sing praises of Liu's boyfriend and how filthy rich he is. Once in a private room, they enjoy fancy meals while Jiang looks bored. Just then, Liu's boyfriend, Zhu Yu, greets the ladies. But as soon as he sees Jiang, He stops and stares at him, and so does Jiang, both realizing dealing with each other won't be easy. Jo-yu greets Liu and apologizes for being late, but his attention soon shifts to Lin, who is sitting alone. Liu introduces Lin as their school's flower and says she doesn't have a boyfriend yet. Jo finds it hard to believe and says he has brought some of his influential friends from the industry. He encourages the girls to build a network with them as his friends can provide them with opportunities for high-paying jobs after graduation. As they start sitting, every guy tries to sit with Lin, while Jiang doesn't like Jo's audacity and curses him. Jo then raises a toast for Liu, and another guy asks Lin to drink with them. Lin confesses she hasn't had alcohol before, but when Liu also insists, Lin has no choice but to have some. After finishing her glass of red wine, she is already drunk and feels she can't drink anymore, but one guy remains persistent. Jiang interferes and asks the man to back off, but as he's about to give him a piece of his mind, Lin's best friend, Shu Yuan, shuts him up and says he has no say in this as he hasn't had a single drink. She then challenges to drink on behalf of Lin, and Jiang is left to fret about his thunder being stolen by her. Suddenly, Liu remarks on Jiang's profession as a librarian at their school and suggests he takes advantage of the influential people in her party. The man who insisted Lin drink says he can offer Jiang a job in his foreign trade company and will pay him $8,000 a month. Jiang passes on the offer and says he likes his job. Liu doesn't want the job conversation to bore the party down, so she insists Jiang drink with them. But Jiang outrightly refuses, to which Jo rubs his success story on Jiang's face, swearing by his alcohol tolerance. Jiang has had enough of their narcissism and says that he has a high alcohol tolerance. It is just that he doesn't drink with just anybody. Jo's expressions change, and with his temper rising, he asks Jiang if he's saying that he is not worth Jiang's time. Jiang's aura changes to a murderous one, and he reiterates that he drinks only with people he deems worthy, and nobody can force him to drink, even if it is someone's birthday. The atmosphere turns tense, and the other guy shouts at Jiang for using such a tone. But before he can say anything else, Woo-jong enters and asks how he is alive after talking like that to Jiang. The man calms down and starts showing sycophancy, but Woo-jong refuses to recognize him. He then turns to Jiang and says he is here with some buddies, and when he heard Jiang is there too, he dropped by to say hi. He asks if the men offended Jiang. Jiang says the guys were forcing his cousin to drink with wrong intentions, and when he intervened, the guys started getting fussy and forcing him to drink instead. With bloodthirst in his eyes, Woo-jong offers to take care of the situation and starts counting the men to beat them to a pulp. The girls are scared to think about what is happening, while Liu can't fathom a librarian with connections with the underworld. Woo-jong shows no mercy and says he's going to stick 3 bottles of vodka down their throat, and whoever can't finish it will be thrown in the river along with their entire families. Jiang scoffs as he finds it funny that a tough guy like Woo-jong is Woo-tin's brother, who is the polar opposite. Jiang thanks Woo-jong for taking care of these unruly men for him and offers to drink with him. Woo-jong accepts and gets the table clean for them. He calls out to Lin and says he has something to discuss with Woo-jong and asks her and the others to go to the next private room. After a couple of drinks, they are ready to call it a night. Woo-jong tells Jiang that he has arranged a car for Lin and others to drop them back at school, and they say their goodbyes. The next day, Jiang gets surrounded by women as soon as he reaches school. They bombard him with chocolates and lunchboxes and surround him, unwilling to let him go. Lin is not happy with women fawning over him and tells him that Shu Yuan told all the girls how dashing Jiang is, which made the girls want to see him and know him. Jiang literally bleeds from every hole after the assault to his dignity by the insane women throwing themselves on him. He gets saved by a phone call from the company, who wants him to oversee the shooting and the scene at the studio. With a smirk, he rushes out, thanking his stars for saving him from those thirsty women. Jiang reaches the station after a tiring bus journey and searches for a placard with his name. It doesn't take much time for him to find it, as the man holding it shakes it vigorously and introduces himself as Tu An, a crew member from Gusu's studio. Jiang feels awkward as Fu-an blabbers about being a fan of his work. He is excited to tell Jiang about the crew and wants Jiang to share the same enthusiasm. But Jiang couldn't care less and wonders if Fu hit his head when he was born. Fu tells him there are 2 big superstars. One of them is a failed drama series actor, and the other is a veteran actor who has been away from the industry for a long time. Just as they reach the studio, Jiang is amazed to see Jaffa in action. Director Chang Doyan finalizes the scene after he's happy with it and greets Jiang as Fu introduces him. Chen compliments his work and then calls Jaffa to talk to Jiang. Jaffa surprises Jiang by thanking him for providing him with another chance. Jiang praises his acting and says he bought out the character. He feels Jaffa is humble for an upcoming actor and takes notice of him. After the successful completion of the direction of the movie, Cheng invites everybody on the crew for drinks. The merrymaking continues till late at night, and Cheng loses all decency. He starts searching a crew member's skirt for more beer. Jiang can take just enough, and after Jaffa thanks him again, he leaves for the night. While walking alone, Jiang finds the street empty and decides to use his internal force to extract the alcohol from his body. Just as he does so, and all the alcohol comes out in the form of the liquid energy ball, he hears a murmur from the far end of the street. Jiang panics, thinking it might be a ghost, but musters up the courage to check out the source of the noise. He walks toward the sound and finds a woman curled up on a bench, sobbing. Jiang decides to scare her and makes a scary face as he approaches her. She lets out a yelp, and Jiang laughs after having his revenge for scaring him. He then sits beside her and asks why she's crying. In between sobs, she tells him that everybody in the movie crew bullies her. Jiang argues that she is so cute that even he feels like teasing her. She can't believe he just called her cute and looks at him quizzically. Jiang elaborates that he knows many beautiful girls, but none can be compared to her. However, Jiang reminds her that being cute is not enough, so she needs to sell her talent or body to sustain herself in the industry. The girl starts crying out loud, saying she doesn't want others to touch her. She then introduces herself as Yi Qingxing, a student of the Imperial College of Film and Television. She had come out with her classmate, as the former director invited them for food and drinks, but his intentions were not good, so she ran from the hotel while her classmate was still partying with the director. Jiang questions her why she's tolerating such behavior, and he replies she is the daughter of an actress and her dream is to become a big star like her mother. She cries as she has left her documents and wallet in the hotel, but she is not willing to go back, so Jiang decides to help her and offers her a role in his movie. His face lights up as she's finally met a man who is not a bully. But she soon loses consciousness, and Jiang rushes to catch her before she hits the ground. He is worried something might have happened, but when her stomach growls, he gives out a sigh of relief and understands he fainted because of hunger. He takes her to a restaurant, and she eats to her heart's content, and once she's done, she asks him to come with her to her hotel. Jiang almost spits out his drink and pleads with her never to say it out loud in public. As they are leaving, two hooligans pass obscene comments on them, but Jiang will not take such crap from anybody. He warns them to run for their lives and gives them 3 seconds as he starts the countdown. When the thugs don't budge, Jiang finishes him with punches, making a bloody scene. The people around stand in terror, wondering if they should call the police as it looks serious. He spots the others standing at a distance, terrified, and as if he teleported, he appears in front of him and kicks him with brute force. Upon realizing he used too much power, he hopes he didn't eliminate the guy, but he miraculously survives. Once his job is done, he smacks Yi's behind and asks her to accompany him. Yi holds Jiang's jacket and says he is the first person who stood by her other than her sister. She suddenly says she wants to learn Kung Fu and asks him if he can teach her, but he refuses, saying it is hard to teach what he does to someone. He remembers something and meets the restaurant owner to apologize for the damages and sends him more than necessary. As they make their way out, he gets a call from her classmate, who yells at her, complaining that the director is furious and is trying to block her off in the entertainment circle. She warns her to return and apologize or she can say goodbye to the role she wants. Jiang gets irritated by the yapping from the other side of the phone, so he borrows her phone, gives them an address, and challenges the director to meet him as he wants to see who has the balls to blacklist in the entertainment industry. Yi and Jiang go to meet the director and see the director shamelessly placing his hands over Yi's friend in places he shouldn't be reaching. Yi's friend doesn't seem to mind and chides Yi for running away. She asks Yi to stay and accompany the director to show her appreciation. The director grabs her tight and shifts his attention to Yi. He asks her to sit beside him, and he will give her the role. Jiang calls the director a dipshit, which enrages him, and he grabs Jiang by his collar. Jiang grips him by his hand and pins him on the table. With the other hand, he grabs a bottle and smashes it on the director's head, making him bleed profusely. The director whimpers in pain while the woman with him screams murder. The director still has the audacity to threaten Jiang, so Jiang grabs him by his neck and lifts him. He then introduces himself and warns him not to mess with his crew and sister Yi, as he acknowledged her as his sister just moments ago. Jiang's generosity touches Yi, and her eyes well up. After mopping the floor with him, Jiang threatens the director not to even think about seeking revenge, or he'll make him suffer. Yi's friend cries, shaking with fear and asking the director to get medical attention, or he'll succumb to excessive blood loss. Jiang then takes Yi with him, and they leave the hotel. However, the director is already planning revenge as he coughs up blood. Once outside, Jiang proposes to go to Yi's hotel, making her blush hard. They soon reach her room, and he makes Jiang wear her sleeping eye mask to prevent him from peeking while she changes her clothes. He concentrates on his cup of noodles and wonders how he ended up in the same room as this girl. The entire hotel is booked, and he is forced to share it with Yi with no rooms left. He finishes his noodles, lies down when Yi says she is done, and asks if he wants to shower. Jiang thinks it is safe to open his eye mask, but when he does, Yi is still in her undergarments, and she lets out a scream that can be heard till next door. She starts throwing things at him till he wears the mask again. She switches off the light so he can't see a thing, and in no time, Jiang starts snoring. Thinking he's fallen asleep, Yi grabs a bottle to drink some water and says out loud how lucky she feels to have met him, because he is the only person to have stood by her and fought for her other than her sister. She also confesses that Jiang looked handsome while he was fighting, and suddenly realizing what she just said, she thanks her stars that Jiang is sleeping or she might have to dig a hole to hide. Feeling good after speaking her heart out, she climbs into her bed and sleeps, unbeknownst to her that Jiang heard everything she just said. The next morning, Yi prepares breakfast for Jiang. After getting ready, they visit the studio only to find out that the two actors and actresses in his movie are hospitalized after they met with an accident. Though the injuries are not severe, their absence will drastically affect the shooting schedule, and even director Chang is furious. Jiang thanks for a while, then turns to Yi and says it is her lucky day. He wants her to play the lead role and takes her to introduce her to Chang. Chang approves of her, instantly smitten by her beauty, and offers the male lead to Jiang. Jiang isn't sure and says he has no experience in acting. Chang persuades him and pulls out an Uno card when he says he'll tell Liao that Jiang has a new girlfriend, and she'll then deal with him personally. A chill runs down Jiang's spine even as he thinks about it and agrees to play the part. 3 days later, Jiang is fighting someone when his brother comes, and Jiang attacks him, but his brother effortlessly defends himself and chides him for that sneak attack, but Jiang laughs and asks how it was. Suddenly Chang yells, "Cut," and they finalize the scene. Veteran actor Hu compliments Jiang on his acting skills, and Jiang shows his appreciation by giving all the credit to him. Chang is also happy with Jiang and tells him how much he loves his crew. Just then, one of the crew members gets kicked, and some shady-looking people bark for the director to come out. Chang asks if this is about management fees and tells them he has already paid them. One of the thugs says they won't bother him, but they are looking for Jiang Bai as he has offended their friend. Hu warns Jiang not to mess with these troublemakers and says Chang knows how to deal with the problem. Just then, Qi Jian, who has the management fees, arrives with his men. He asks Chang what the matter is and Chang tells them the men are threatening one of his actors. Qi takes responsibility and confronts the men for creating a scene. One of the guys tells Qi that Jiang thrashed his friend and director, and they have come on his behalf to take revenge. Hu is astonished when he hears they are Huang's men, and warns Jiang that Huang is an influential man with hundreds of millions of dollars, who hires badmen to do his dirty work, and has support from the Taindu underground triad gang. But Jiang remains unfazed and says he has a friend who works at a high post with the local government. He assures everyone everything will be fine. When she hears Huang's name, he withdraws his men and says he'll return the management fee as he can't go against a man like Huang. But he warns the men that they will not meddle with other crew members. The man, Wang Kong, gives his word and says they just want Jiang, and adds that they also need the girl named Yi, as she is the reason why this mess started in the first place. Hu and others step up and offer to help Jiang. After all, he is one of them, and even Yi offers to call her sister. But Jiang says it wouldn't be necessary as he knows a person who is very powerful in Tiandu. Jiang calls Song Yi and asks him to send someone to deal with the issue. Song Yi has a perfect person as he is also a big fan of Jiang and assures he'll be there soon. It has already been half an hour, and Jiang is surrounded by dozens of men waiting to charge at him. Just then, Wang Sani appears in person, and everybody thinks this is it for Jiang. It is too late to save him now. Wang Sani stands in front of Jiang, and after confirming his identity, bows and stutters as he introduces himself. The men stand there agape, thinking what on earth is going on. Jiang feels embarrassed and asks what is going on. Wang explains that he got a call from Song Yi, so he quickly rushed to the scene. The director, Yan Xing, had told Wang someone had broken his skull and had hired him to teach Jiang a lesson. But Wang calls it a misunderstanding and apologizes to Jiang, which Jiang readily accepts, and everybody is left flabbergasted by such a turn of events. Yi immediately rushes to Jiang's side, unable to stop her tears as she thought she would lose Jiang. Jiang wipes her tears and, with a smile, says he will always be there to protect her. No matter what the situation is, she won't be bullied again. Wang apologizes for interrupting their moment and asks if they want to have lunch together. Jiang agrees and invites Cheng Hu and Zhou Fa to join them while Wang arranges a place. However, the actors and director feel they can't sit with a hotshot like Jiang. But Jiang assures them it is not a big deal and then turns to Wang, ordering him to make sure no one bothers his crew for paying management or protection fees as long as they are filming in Gusu. In the end, it is only Jiang and Wang having lunch together. Wang offers to take him to his clubhouse, and Jiang agrees. Unbeknownst to him, Wang has cabaret girls arranged to entertain them. Bai Jiang is not impressed and questions Wang if he thinks Jiang is like any ordinary young master or corrupt official who just gets drunk and laid. Just then, he hears a girl call out Chu Chu, and Jiang suddenly remembers she used to be his girlfriend on Earth, and they were together for more than 4 years. But they broke up because Jiang never stood by his promise to marry her. He would always say he'll marry her when he has earned a lot, but no amount of money was sufficient for Jiang. So Chu Chu suggested they go their separate ways as she was tired of waiting for him and believing in a promise that would never be fulfilled. Jiang is lost in his thoughts about Chu Chu when Huang notices him staring at a girl and asks her to come, calling her Wu Xingxin. He asks her to entertain Jiang and soon leaves them alone. Jiang and Wu start talking, and she tells him she is still studying. Her mother was sick with uremia and needed money for her medical expenses, so Wang helped them monetarily and even sent her to the hospital. She didn't want to owe Wang, so to compensate for all the expenditure, she works there and even goes to school. Jiang is still perplexed that she works in a place like this and asks her to concentrate on her studies. He'll lend her money, and she can forget about the arrangement Wang has made for her. He sends her away and calls for Wang. He confronts him for bringing an underage girl to his club and warns him that it shouldn't happen again. Wang apologizes and gives his word that it won't happen again. Jiang feels Wang is hiding something and asks if he needs help. Wang gives in and says he has encountered serious trouble. Wang tells Jiang that 1/10 of his product went missing in the northern port city, and he can't do anything about it because of his company's reputation and constantly being in the public eye. Because he couldn't do anything, his product worth $1 billion was caught by customs. If the goods aren't returned, he fears he might die. Officially, they can't touch those guys in the north, but Zhao Wuji can, and if he demands it, the goods will be released. He asks Jiang to use his connections to approach Zhao Wuji, the Tiandu underground overlord. He offers Jiang half of the goods as compensation. Jiang agrees and calls Wang and explains the situation. But Wang tells him there will be some complications with getting the goods released, and that complication is Wu Tangxin, the vanguard of a Hebei city in the north. He is one of the most illustrious figures in China, a successful businessman with influence spread throughout the area to the Tiandu River and the imperial capital. There is a rumor that a powerful guy is working under Wu Tangxin, and there is no other information available about the guy. Jiang gets excited and plans to go to Northport City himself. He asks Wang to handle the official side and make sure the goods don't disappear. Rest, he'll take care of the situation. Wang is grateful to Jiang for helping him out and pledges his allegiance to Jiang. At night, Jiang is lying on his bed, thinking what a pain Wang is when someone enters his room. It is Wu Xingxin who undresses before climbing into bed with Jiang. Jiang suddenly wakes up and pins Wu on the bed, asking her what she's doing there even after he asked her to concentrate on her studies. He decides to play with her a little and, with a smirk, says she'd be in trouble if he fails to hold it back. But to his surprise, Wu says she doesn't mind, so Jiang takes a soft approach and asks her to come to him when in trouble. He then lies beside her, assuring her he'll cover her mother's hospital expenses. They soon doze off, and in the morning, Jiang finds himself alone in bed with a note from Wu that reads she has an exam the next day, so he can call her after the test. With that, she mentioned her number. Jiang lets out a chuckle before getting ready to sail the sea, and as he does, he has an uneasy feeling. But he takes pleasure in the thrill he feels as he realizes he might lose his life if he is not careful enough. Jiang reaches the Northport city and meets Wang's informant, Sun Gai, at a luncheon. He tells Jiang that Wang has handled the customs and Jiang can arrange for someone to pick up the goods. He asks which route he will choose, but it doesn't make any difference for Jiang. Sun warns him that he might not be able to move the item out, but Jiang is keen to meet Wu Tangson and asks Sun to arrange a meeting with him. Sun fixes a meeting of the two and informs Jiang that Wu Tangson has invited him to eat with him. Jiang sends him off, thanking him for getting the work done. He then enters the private eating area and meets Wu Tangson, who is surprised to see such a young man standing before him. They share a little repartee before Wu Tangson's men hold Jiang at gunpoint, just because Wu Tangson has heard stories about Jiang and wants to see for himself if any of them are true. But Wu Tangson asks his men to keep the gun away, and an unperturbed Jiang asks for the product he withheld at the port. Wu Tangson boasts that he can release it by just lifting a finger, but he questions Jiang why he should give it to him. Jiang takes a serious stance and replies that Wu Tangson will not leave the Marina Hotel if he doesn't do as asked. Wu Tangson chuckles and claps, and soon his men enter the room from all directions and surround Jiang. Jiang lights a cigarette as Wu Tangson irritates him. Still, he flicks a cigarette at Wu Tangson, who lights it and acknowledges Jiang's courage. He confesses that he would have given back the item in normal circumstances, but he doesn't like Wang and asks Jiang to bring Wang here, and he will let Jiang go easily. And as long as Wang is willing to do as he says, he will give him back his goods. Wu Tangson offers Jiang to work for him, but Jiang has already said what he needs. He reiterates that he needs the goods or he'll smash Wu Tangson's face to a pulp. Wu Tangson thinks it is Jiang's arrogance speaking because, at that moment, 40 armed men are surrounding Jiang, and he has no way out. Jiang insists that the men don't move or else he'll show them no mercy. Wu Tangson laughs at Jiang's proclamation and swears that if he can reach him in the room after tackling his men, he'll recognize him, and as long as he is alive, Wu Tangson will not mess with or reach out to him. Wu Tangson is still mid-sentence when Jiang is already above his head. In no time, he beats half of the men senseless, but he gets caught by a 7-foot giant who grabs Jiang's head and wouldn't let go. But that doesn't last long, and Jiang twists the giant's arms, breaking them. Wu Tangson sees a hungry ghost in Jiang and predicts he can turn into a demon in the future. The men start shooting at Jiang, but nothing can stop his thirst for blood, and soon a bloody roulette takes place where the only shooter is Jiang. With most men eliminated, Wu Tangson calls the manager of his men and asks him to send his men to the ground floor and not to come in the room, and describes the situation as being handled. After Jiang is done eliminating all 40 armed men, he asks Wu Tangson for the goods, but Wu Tangson laughs and snaps his fingers. Just then, Jiang has dozens of lasers pointed at him. He realizes Wu Tangson has used snipers to target him and curses him. Jiang warns him that he can eliminate him even before anybody can shoot him. But Wu Tangson just laughs and, in a matter-of-fact tone, says they both will take their last breaths together as the two stand with guns pointing at each other. The two aim at each other and soon start shooting at each other mercilessly. Jiang aims at Wu Tangson and shoots him point blank, and as Wu Tangson falls, he manages to say "good shot" before he passes away. But just as Jiang starts laughing hysterically, he gets shot by the snipers. The two men are still standing with guns, and this scenario runs through Jiang's head. He knows he has no chance of survival if he finishes off Wu Tangson. Jiang is in a dilemma when Wu Tangson puts his gun down and says he surrenders because he doesn't have the heart to go through with it. He adds that Jiang wins the game. Jiang sneers at that remark and says that Wu Tangson values his life more than Jiang's, which is why he is ending their little game. Wu Tangson doesn't mind Jiang saying it like this because it is true, and he asks his men to compensate the families of the deceased while sending the injured to be treated. He asks the room to be cleared as he wants to discuss something with Jiang over drinks. That night, after getting really drunk, Jiang walks back to his hotel. As he's walking in the street, he notices a drunk girl being harassed by two men. Jiang grabs one of the men by his head and tosses him in the air. After what he saw, the other man doesn't dare to fight with him and apologizes before leaving the girl alone. The girl is too wasted, so Jiang brings her to his hotel. After showering, she asks Jiang if he would like to join her for a few drinks. Jiang can barely think straight because of the splitting headache, and now she is asking him to drink with her. What is wrong with this woman, he wonders. It is her way of thanking him for saving her. As she hands him a can of beer, she tells him her story. She was in elementary school when she met her now husband. She doesn't even know why she married him, probably because he got wounded on his duty as a policeman when they were dating, and she took pity on him. Meanwhile, Jiang is trying hard not to throw up because he's had too many drinks. The woman continues her story and says that her relationship has gotten threadbare with her husband, but she is willing to work on that. Someone told her having a baby might help them restore their relationship, so she removes her towel and announces she is going to make a baby with Jiang. Just as Jiang sees her naked, he can't hold it in any longer and barfs all over the floor. Jiang holds a suitcase full of money as he gets surrounded by armed men demanding the money from him. But he gives them the finger and claims the money to be his as he won it in gambling, playing fair and square. He is not ready to part with it when a speeding truck comes and Jiang gets hit. The men demanding money look confused as it is their truck, but they didn't call it in front of the casino. Just then, an unknown entity gets out of the truck and laughs, seeing Jiang lying in a pool of blood and his life slowly fading away. Jiang wakes up with a jerk, and the unknown entity's words wishing him a good trip ring in Jiang's ears. It takes a minute for Jiang to think straight, and he realizes he is in his bed naked. He finds a paper strip on the table with a message written on it, accompanied by a bundle of notes. In the letter, the woman thanks Jiang for what he did last night and says if she has his kid, she will take care of him and will not bother Jiang. She left $10,000 and bids him farewell. Jiang is irritated about being treated like this and wonders if he really slept with her. Suddenly his phone rings and Wang thanks him profusely because he got back his goods and asks for a month to prepare his share of money as promised. Jiang gets dressed and prepares to leave as his work is done. Somewhere a man asks to meet Mr. Shi. She asks his men to let the man come in. The man starts talking about Wu Tangxin, but she stops in mid-sentence and agrees Zhao Wuji has begun to get on his nerves. He is thinking of assassinating Zhao Wuji himself as things are not going well for his plans. Jiang is back in his city and is meeting with Song Yi, who is running late. While waiting, he gets a text from Wu Xingxin saying she is done with her exams. Song Yi apologizes for being late and claims it takes time to dress stylishly and do the hair. Jiang ignores his fancy excuses and asks him to take him to an address. Song Yi recognizes the address of a school and asks Jiang if he is on a date or something. Jiang doesn't shy away and says yes, making Song Yi cringe. He is even repelled by the pink-colored t-shirt Jiang is wearing and reminds him to dress appropriately. After all, he is a multi-billionaire Chinese underground boss. Jiang reminds him he is a librarian and asks Song Yi not to treat him like someone from the mafia. Song Yi is not having any of Jiang's excuses, and he urges Jiang to get in the car as he's planning to take him for a makeover and a change of clothes. At the school, Wu Xingxin meets her friend, who asks her where she has been all these days. She tells him the two guys in their class got into an argument because of Wu Xingxin, but Wu Xingxin says she has nothing to do with it. As they're walking, they meet Wang Yang, which makes Wu Xingxin embarrassed. Wang Yang claims to settle the score with the other kid named Gu Kai, and that guy will never bother her again, but Wu Xingxin is not interested and says she has nothing to do with the fight. She makes it clear to Wang Yang that he can't force her to like him. Hearing this vexes Wang Yang, and he yells at her that whatever he does is for her, and today he has called his elder brother to settle the matter once and for all with Gu Kai. Soon Wang Yang arrives, and in an almost threatening tone, says to Wu Xingxin that she can't leave now and asks how she is willing to compensate his brother. They're in the middle of the conversation when Gu Kai arrives and asks Wu Xingxin if she wants to have lunch together. Wang Yang takes offense and threatens to eliminate him from the picture altogether. Subscribe for more such content, and see you guys in the next video.